I want to describe a moment that I know for a fact you experienced this week. You were sitting at your desk, or maybe you were walking into the gym. The lighting in the room hit you just right. You put on a specific song in your headphones. Maybe it was something light, maybe it was heavy, and as you started doing your work, or as you picked up the weight, a strange thing happened inside your mind. You started moving a little more deliberately. You adjusted your posture. You let your face become expressionless and cold. Inside your head, you weren't just a guy doing an ordinary task. You were the main character in an edit. You were performing the grind. You were looking at yourself from the outside, admiring how disciplined, how silent, and how high value you looked in that exact moment. Let's call it what it actually is. It is the quiet performance, and it is the most dangerous, highly addictive psychological disease destroying the minds of young men in this generation. Tonight, we are going to pull back the curtain of this trap because if you don't break out the performance, you will spend the next 5 years of your youth building a lifestyle that looks beautiful in your mind but is completely hollow in reality. To understand how deep this trap goes, we have to look back at history. Centuries ago, in the ancient empires of the world, emperors and kings would hire court actors. The sole job of these actors was to put on heavy robes, wear gold plated crowns, and walk around the palace looking majestic. They would speak in deep, booming voices. They would hold swords with perfect form. To an outsider looking through the palace windows, these actors looked like absolute gods. They looked powerful. It's raining. Damn. But the moment the sun went down and the audience went home, those actors took off the cheap gold crowns. They took off the heavy robes. They sat in the small cold rooms, realizing they didn't own a single acre of land. They had no actual army, and they held zero real world authority. They were entirely broke. They were just masters of appearance of power. Look at our generation today. Social media has turned every single one of us into our own court actor. But the trap has evolved. You see, you don't even need an active Instagram or TikTok account to be an actor anymore. The algorithm has rewired your brain so deeply that you have created an imaginary audience inside your own skull. You are waking up early because you love the morning. You are waking up early because you love the identity of being the guy who wakes up before the world. You aren't studying for hours because you care about the knowledge. You are doing it because you love the mental image of yourself as the isolated intellectual. You have turned self improvement into a theatre production, and you're the only one buying the tickets. Why do we do this? Why does brain crave the performance? Because the performance is comfortable. It gives you the dopamine of success without any of the real world friction. When you are performing discipline in your bedroom, you cannot fail. The imaginary audience in your head never boos you. They always think you look cool. It is an aesthetic sandbox. But true greatness, the kind that actually changes your bank account, the kind that builds real world respect, the kind that makes you a pillar for your family, is completely unglamorous. It does not look like a TikTok edit. Raise too loud. So, real growth is boring. It is ugly. It is sitting at a desk at 11 p.m. when your brain feels like mush. Your eyes are burning. The lighting in your room is terrible. There is no music playing, and you realize that nobody knows you are doing this. Nobody cares. And if you quit right now, the world will keep spinning and nobody will notice. When you hit the wall, the actor inside you dies because the actor needs an audience to survive. And when there is no audience, the actor stops working. This is why so many guys roll through cycles of locking in for 2 weeks and then completely crash into a week of binge watching and degeneracy. That's because They ran, a, they ran out of emotional fuel of the performance. They realized that real change takes a long time, and the daily grind of it isn't cinematic at all. It's just heavy, monotonous labor. I am telling you this right now because I am about to enter a phase where I'm going to be locked into my own real world responsibilities with college and life. I won't be here dropping videos every few days to entertain the actor in your head. The screen is going to go dark, and that is going to be your ultimate test. When the creators you watch stop uploading, when the hype dies down, and when the self improvement trends change into something else, who are you going to be in the dark? Are you going to stop lifting weights and studying because the aesthetic of it isn't exciting anymore? Or are you going to step out of the theater and become a real operator? To win in this generation, you have to learn to love the unglamorous dirt of the process. You have to drop the need to look cool to yourself. When you study, don't worry about looking like a monk. Just master the material. When you work on your side hustle, don't worry about looking like an entrepreneur. Just solve the painful problem in front of you and make the money. When you go to the gym, don't look at your reflection to see if your expression looks sufficiently intense. Just push the weight until your body forces you to grow. Dismantle the stage you built in your mind. The high value men of history, the philosopher, the conquerors, the builders, they didn't have time to wonder how they looked from the outside while they were building their empires. They were too busy dealing with the weight of reality. If you want this next month to be the period where you actually transform, you must become comfortable with being completely invisible. You must become comfortable with the silence of real work. Do it for the result, not for the reflection. This video is gonna sit on my profile for the next few weeks while I handle my own business in the real world. Let this be a monument for you. Every time you catch your brain trying to turn your discipline into a cinematic performance, come back to this video. Listen to this audio. Wake yourself up. If you are one of the few men who stayed until the final sentence of this transmission, you have the capacity for true depth. You are done being an actor in your own head. Go down the comments right now and write down one area of your life where you know you've been performing rather than producing. Own it. Look it in the face. I am checking out of the performance. I want you to do the same. Get to work. I'll see you when the real results are